Hi, I'm John Manessa's Promly intern here with fellow Promly interns Sheldon Gomes, Melody Quito, and Kayoneil Wilson. Welcome to another episode of the Promly Changemakers podcast. If you haven't already, please follow us at Promly app and download the Promly app on the App Store. Together, we will change outcomes. First of all, I know this is technically called the Promly Changemakers podcast. We kind of had our own idea. We're calling this the AfterGrad Podcast because if you don't know, for our recent college graduates, we graduated from Fairleigh Dickinson University back on May 15th, and now we're just here. We're here as Promly interns. Guys, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. We got any specific order? I guess because I spoke first. I'll just go. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, my name
Noted.
is Sheldon Gomes. I graduated FDU along with my fellow buddies here, and we had our little small group. We have four of us, and then two stragglers who do not do the internship, but I would love to have on the podcast sometime. But yeah, I graduated from FDU, communications major, again, along with all my other friends here. In terms of aspirations, when I went into college, I kind of went in thinking something along the lines of sports journalism. I did some sports journalism there. Didn't go quite how I wanted it to go. Didn't have as much fun as I wanted, but I did still have a passion for sports. I'm sure we'll get into radio, all that stuff, you guys. But yeah, found my little radio niche, and now kind of looking forward to doing sports media stuff, whether that be a form of podcasting that we're doing now or something otherwise down the line. But yeah, that's the gist of my experience.
I'm Kayoneil. My specific realm of what I want to do in the future, life after grad, is being in the production field, whether that be video editing or photography. Those have just been my passions for a really long time. So why not just do it every day? Because why not?
My name's Melody Quito to be precise. I obviously, as everybody else here, I graduated from FDU. I was actually undeclared. I did not know what I wanted to do. I did want to do something with the writing. I felt like I wanted to tap into my creative side, especially as a Gemini moon. I'm supposing I'm very creative.
Jeez. Okay.
Okay, whatever. I most definitely kind of went into the realm of advertising and marketing, and that actually helped me a lot with understanding what types of different things I wanted to do. But my biggest goal in life has always been in doing anything within the film industry, whether it be marketing for the film industry. I definitely want to do that because I just love movies. So yeah, that's a big goal of mine. But other than that, I'm just chilling, just living my life, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, as I said before, I'm John Manessas, and I also graduated from FDU with these guys. And I also went in undeclared too, mostly because I think I always was going to land in communications either way. But the thing is, in high school, like I just like when like researching majors and things like that, I just didn't know what communications was, if that makes sense. And I think like the definition is kind of like out there because it is a bit of a broad major, and like
Yeah.
we have to find our own concentrations and things like that. And I kind of like Melody, I think I love movies and TV, and that's kind of where I wanted to land, and that's still where I want to land to this day. But enough of that. I think we're all going to get into a little bit of our past selves throughout this podcast, because in episode 1 of the AfterGrad podcast, we are going to be talking about how we met, and hopefully of like things like when it comes to a young person like you, or a young person that's listening that's trying to navigate the young adult life, whether it's leaving high school, leaving college, or something like that in your young adult life, how you want to navigate relationships, friendships, and how you just want to like in general find the people that you want to keep in your life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I thought our first thing that we could talk about was essentially like, as I said, I think the title of the fun first episode of this would kind of just be like explaining how we all came together and how we all first met.
Yeah,
I know we're
for sure.
a group of us here, so everyone's wondering how we all found each other. For me, from my perspective, I think we'll go around the round table to see if the perspectives are the same from each other. But I guess I'll start with Kayoneil, because I remember Kayoneil technically I met. I guess we could relate it to the pandemic a little bit, because we all started college at 18 years old, and that was back in 2020, and that was kind of like a really interesting time where we definitely started college. Our entire first freshman year of college was actually on Zoom.
Yep.
So at orientation or virtual orientation, that is where I met Kayoneil for the first time.
Yes, it
That
was.
was on Zoom. Oh yeah, guys, feel free to chime in at any time if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
It's more
Yeah,
fun. I
no, and we're just letting you talk, tell the story, you know?
don't want to talk too much though.
It's a great
No.
story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I met Kayoneil on Zoom with our favorite professor. Well, what we know now is our favorite professor, Professor LaPont,
Oh,
who
big shout out.
actually
Yeah.
convinced me
Period.
to become a comm major. I think I declared majors like pretty much right after that meeting. After I met Kayoneil and this other guy named Steven who dropped out of the major, but I mean, I guess that should have happened. So I met Kayoneil the day of orientation, and I don't remember when the first time we linked up in person was, to be honest.
Um,
No, freshman year
I
we did
can't
have
remember.
together, but that was an asynchronous class, so we never talked to each other.
I think we emailed once or twice though, because we didn't have each other's numbers yet. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, we just emailed, but then I don't remember. I think it was through the Equinox, to be honest, where we linked in.
Oh,
Actually, it was digital storytelling because we had another class together. And then you were like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
this girl is in a lot of my classes. We need to exchange numbers. I think that's how.
that's true. Yeah, so it was our second semester of college where the first time we
Mhm.
actually saw each other through Zoom because Intro to
Mhm.
Human Com was just an asynchronous class where no one's Sheldon, I think you might have been in that class too. I'm not
Yeah. There were a
I
bunch
think
of people
so.
in there. There was Joe was
senior
in there, Mo was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Definitely had John, KO, yeah.
It was just a bunch of people on the discussion board because I remember each week was just we were each assigned a chapter. This man, Mr. Sun,
Yeah.
that was his version of us teaching each other and taking a chapter every week.
Yeah, man.
And so I guess I remember so digital storytelling was when
Mhm.
I saw I don't know, I guess meeting
Yeah.
someone like and then so I guess it's a mix of meeting someone not seeing their face and then meeting someone answering their face and then finally meeting in person. Sheldon, this guy actually like I met him in freshman year English class, not even a comm class.
Yeah, I think we went way back and we didn't even know. I think the first in-person meeting I had with John was, I think, professional communications with Vanacore. Professor Vanacore, great professor. But yeah, I kind of saw him and I was like, I'm pretty sure I recognize that guy from one of my Zooms, but just in case I'm wrong, I'll like stand to the side. But John's like the most outgoing person in the world. So like
Mhm.
of course like
Yes.
he's went up to any one of us, I think, at some point when we first met him and sort of introduced himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, got introduced to John and I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I remember this guy. Like we had a bunch of classes together on Zoom where I looked disheveled and probably unapproachable. But then once we got back in person, everything was cool. Met John, met a Nick fan in there. I'm a big Nick fan. For
Mhm.
anybody who doesn't know, we met a Nick fan in that class. We had our little trio there, and then from there, I think,
He disappeared.
yeah,
I have no idea where he
he
is.
disappeared. I don't know where he went. He ended up being like 20 something. So
Mhm.
at that time I was like, oh, like 25. Like this guy has to get on with his life. And now I'm like 22 and I'm like, that's
Now,
like kind of
yeah,
fast
it's
Yeah.
approaching. for me.
actually was crazy.
Um, but yeah, met John in that class. I don't remember exactly when I met KO. It might have been with the Equinox
I think it was, yeah.
newspaper at FDU. For those who don't go to FDU and may be listening. And then Melody, I think I met in digital storytelling as well, but a different year. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
what an interesting experience that class was.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think my first time ever meeting like everybody
Mhm.
was that first Equinox meeting. I remember I came in, I had done I took Professor LaPonce, her rule about like
Mhm.
dressing up for presentations
Mhm.
really seriously, but also on top of that, we had like a photo shoot for the Equinox, so
Yeah.
Mhm.
I tried to look presentable. I did not look presentable. And I just remember that we were like, I was just all by myself and I felt like so lost because I thought everybody was like besties. And I was just like, oh wow, like I'm joining in a gang that I don't even know of. And the first person who like literally, besides Crockmall, Professor Crockmall, the first one that like literally introduced themselves to me was John, actually.
Yeah.
He said, "Are you Melody?" And I was just like, yeah, I am. He was like, "Hi, my name's John." And I was just like, "Oh, hi." And that was it. Like he was the first one. And then I just remember Ko was there and I didn't say hi, obviously, because we both didn't know each other. And then Sheldon came in and everybody was saying, "Oh wow, Sheldon, you look so nice." Like they were hyping him up. And I was just like, wow, like they're really good friends. And
Yeah.
I did not know. I never
Couldn't be
knew.
any more not true.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
with those people. I mean, like, yeah, sure. I mean, me, Sheldon, and Ko both, we worked for the journalism club or the new school newspaper for
Mhm.
a really long time. But even then, like, we were nowhere as close as we knew each other now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
So, I mean, that
Mhm.
was essentially around sophomore year of college. So I think it's like, it's kind of the same. It's like those growing pains, if that makes sense. I do
Mhm.
remember meeting, I know, like, I guess that was the first meeting. I guess I technically met Melody like twice because it was that first meeting and then I never saw her again for like a couple months.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
it's that semester that you two had digital storytelling together. Me and Melody had com theory together. So it
Oh
was
yeah, and
that
it's like a chain
Yeah.
of
uh,
Chain of
knowing each other.
events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt really bad. She was asking me, I mean, I think me and Kayoneil actually, we kind of were the stars of digital storytelling because we cared a lot. I mean, it was sort of the pandemic still, so we kind of, I
Yeah.
mean, me, my excuse is that I had nothing else to do other than be,
Do
a
the
great
work.
student.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much of a workload digital storytelling was.
For-
I mean, yeah, so like, I mean, what I'm saying is that like it is a big workload for a somewhat normal class. So like
Hmm.
me and Kana were kind of like really good at it. I think Melody, some maybe I guess she heard about it. Oh wait, no, Pokemon made me talk to her.
No,
Yeah, you actually
Crockmall brought you in.
Oh
And I just
convinced us
no.
all.
remember, yeah, and I was just like, oh
Yeah.
wow, he says this is the best class ever. I guess it is. So I kind of I needed help though. I remember that first
Oh
assignment,
man.
everybody bombed, and I was just like, oh my God, like what do I do? And that's
What
why
was the first assignment we had to do for that?
the bibliographies,
I
remember?
hated those.
Oh
Hated
I
yeah.
those.
hated those two.
Yeah.
We all didn't know how he wanted them,
Mhm.
and it was just really funny because everybody was like, "Okay, but like teach us," and he was just like, "Nah." So it was
Figure it
like,
out. Yeah.
yeah. So I just remember I I think I texted John or I emailed him, one or the two, and I was just like, "Hey, can you like send me some of your bibliography so that I can like
Yeah.
see
Get the
them?"
gist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think we had each other on group me for whatever reason. It's
Yeah,
already
we
like
did.
we text each other for
We
group.
We did
did.
have
We
We did
did.
have a group
For
me.
whatever reason.
I
But
think
I
it was the
think
Equinox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
funny.
think it was.
I wonder if GroupMe is like still a thing now.
I think so.
I think it is. Yeah.
I feel like it
Mhm.
lived its I feel like it was popular. I don't know why it was like I feel like that became like the popular like thing. Like when we got to like high school, like the end of high school, and then I think going into college, like everybody was using GroupMe. Now I don't see it
I
anymore.
only
Maybe
use
it's because I'm
GroupMe
not
because
young anymore though.
college clubs and things like that. Like when it comes
I'm not a part. I'm
We're
an
not
unk.
young.
Yeah, yeah. Not I'm unk now, as the kids say.
I don't know. I think I remember it's just like because it was, I think Melody, it's like she asked me in person for my annotated bibliography notes or things like that.
Mhm.
And I think I remember just totally forgetting. And then I think I don't know if there's a word for it. I like doxed her for like a couple weeks, if that makes sense. That's not the
You
right word.
did?
Wow, John.
I don't
That's
know what
messed
that
up.
means. Yeah.
I don't know. Doxed is not the right word. That's like a complete
It's probably
Ghosted?
not.
Did you ghost her?
I think you
ghost.
ghosted me.
Ghost her?
Somewhat, because I
Okay.
think it was something like she asked me for my notes, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll send them to you, no problem." And then like weeks went by, and I just never remembered to send the notes. And I think I remember, I think weeks later, she got the courage to remind me again. I'm like, "Oh
Uh,
shoot, my bad. Let me send it."
Shame on
I
you.
don't know how many bibliographies she had to write without my help, but I
Yeah.
think
mm,
they helped.
That was like
Yeah.
the first time well, I did have friends, sort of friends, before I met you guys. And
uh,
I just remember they kind of helped, sort of didn't help because they were just like, the one friend that I had, he was a comm major, so he kind of was familiar, but then he told me to like redirect myself to like John and was just like, he
Yeah.
probably has better ones, probably updated ones. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So yeah.
Glad I saved all of those, man. That class was something. I guess the story of how we all first met, and then I think we all kind of like fatefully, it was kind of like just being comm major itself that kind of brought us all together. Us four, along with another two people, we all kind of like came together. I think it was a class called TV News, the Big Issues. If you know, back at FDU, the comm program was like in a little bit of an upbringing, if you will. It was kind of like being brought back or like being rebuilt. I think that's a good word,
Yeah,
rebuilt. So
little
essentially,
resurrection going on.
we had to look forward to as comm majors. We all like they offered the core classes every semester because we had to get our core stuff in. But when it came to like the fun classes, like something to look forward to, we essentially got one of those a semester, if that makes sense. And the one new class for comm majors was TV News, the Big Issues. And that is the class that we all actually faithfully signed up for because I realized, I mean, after that, we all kind of planned it together. It's like, yo, let's take this together. Yo, let's take that. This class, we all kind of signed up for without knowing of each other. And then that's what kind of like led to us spending a bunch of time together, blah, blah, blah. And here we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, TV News, I just remember it's weird. Like I just remember at some point, that was junior year or was that sophomore year?
Yeah, it was junior year.
Yeah, first semester junior. Yeah.
I just remember, I think what had happened was that me and Sheldon, how we had digital storytelling together. I think we both were like, oh, because we're comm majors, like let's take a comm class together. He became like that friend where I was just like, oh, like that TikTok sound that was like, oh, do you want to hang out socially? Like he was like the first one that was like actually like I stuck to. And then I think we both were texting each other because we needed a language. And then I think John, he had recently dropped out of his art minor. So he was like, oh, I need to join you guys. And I was just like, sure, sure. So it was just us three. And then after that, I think John was the one that mentioned that he wanted to take another comm class, us three, and that he had already talked to Kayo about it and Aurora, and then I think Aurora talked to Mo about it too. And then that first day we clicked. I just remember that was the first time I met you guys, the first time I met Kayo, first time everything, and we were like, let's follow each other on Instagram, let's do this, let's do that. Like it was just instant. Like I just remember it and I was just like, wow, like it was like fate or like destiny or something. I don't know, it was really cool.
No, that does. I think that makes a lot of sense. You kind of just reminded me of the whole dropping out of painting. I dropped out of a painting class because I just, long story short, I wasn't good at painting the way I thought I was going to be. And that kind of like, I mean, that like honestly, like in my personal like schedule or personal life, that kind of like saved me because I would have had to like take Chinese the whole year afterwards or take whatever language the whole year because in college that's how it works. You have to take elementary 1, then elementary 2 in the spring. So like, you guys used to kind of save me by helping me get Chinese, and I knocked it out junior year or some whatever year that was. But I remember the first day was interesting because the first day I think it was after the 2 weeks, I was able to get into the class. And the first day I walked into the class, Sheldon and Melody both weren't there. And I was kind of waiting for them to come.
Oh, that was Chinese. Yes, that was we didn't end up showing up. I think that was the first class that John was a part of because he joined in late. I think we had ended up saying to each other we're not going.
Because sometimes I think one thing that I respected about Sheldon was that like if he had like a friend and he was just like, oh yeah, like if you're not showing up, I'm not showing up. Like he was he was kind of like that with me. We were both be like, we're not feeling it, we're going home. Like, you know.
Like, I mean, this was before I got into like they didn't know that I registered for class. So I remember I showed up, I sat in the front seat. And then 2 other people were there, and they kind of just like went about with their stuff. I was like, let me not say. I mean, sometimes I'm good to say hi to people, sometimes I'm not. So I kind of, they went to their side, and then the teacher walked in, wrote Chinese symbols on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, let's get started. And she acknowledged me what's left.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not, I'm new, right? And then like, so like, what the day of class was just like, and
Yeah, man.
I gave it a try because I mean, for one thing, I didn't even have the book, so I'm just like looking at these Chinese symbols
Mm-hmm.
to like see what to do. And I'm
Yeah.
waiting for Sheldon and Melody to just walk in so they could like hold my hand through this whole thing.
Yeah, man. That was
Yeah.
And shout out
that
to
was
Professor
great.
Yao because like she was a wonderful woman.
A
She is. She
wonderful,
really
wonderful
is.
professor, wonderful person. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say though, like my funniest, like every time I think about or talk about our encounters, I always think the funniest is always either Mo or Sheldon. Like when I first met them, like
Mhm.
Mo, I just remember one time we were all walking out. I think it was after a debate and we were all like really in comm theory.
Mhm.
It was a really funny debate. I forgot what, because like I was debating that day and I don't know why, but the opposing side got really like fixated on ageism and how ageism is bad. And even though it
That
had
was
nothing to
Kenny.
do, yeah, it had nothing to do with our subject, but everybody was laughing about that. But I just remember we were coming out, I was talking to John, and then out of nowhere, Mo, he comes up to me. He was like, "Hey," he was like, "I saw that you were watching like Attack on Titan," and he was just like, "Oh," he was like, "Oh, he was like, I saw you were watching the new episode. That's pretty cool. I didn't know you liked anime," and I was like, "Yeah, I really did." And last time, I think our like the breakfast for
Mhm.
for us comm majors, he like
Mhm.
exposed me, and I was just like so like, "Oh my God,
He
like
did.
why
Was
would
I
you do
watching
remember
that?"
anime?
that.
Yeah.
Oh
For
For
not
no,
man.
paying
no,
attention.
for not paying attention in class.
Oh.
Because I was watching it during class. But yeah.
Oh man.
And then Sheldon's was funny because I just remember I hated him for some reason. And I just
Yeah,
remember
I don't
he
know.
came in.
I did something.
Yeah, he came in. He sat down right next to me, and I was so mad because I was just like, dude, like there's so many seats, and you're just gonna sit right next to
I
me.
know, God forbid I like choose a
Yeah.
seat,
Can't
you
take
know.
open seat. All right.
So I just remember I think our professor he asked a question because at the time I think Spider-Man was like there was like a whole contract
Sony and Marvel
um
deal, yeah.
yeah
Tom
that was
Holland was kind of
happening
like on his way out.
and yeah and he was asking us questions and he was like, "Oh yeah, which Marvel is a part of?" And then I just remember me and Sheldon were like in sync and we were like Disney, and then he was just like, "Oh, Tom Holland is," and then we both said it's Spider-Man. Like we were just like in sync and
Yeah.
I just remember we both looked at each other and I was just like, "You don't know nothing about Spider-Man.
We were
Like,
locked in.
get
I
away."
listen, buddy. I was like, she doesn't know anything about anything. I was like, if he's asking about Spider-Man, I'm the guy to go to because like, oh man. But yeah, I remember that was the class where I was like, I went into college and I was just kind of like, I had my high school buddies. I know like John talked about like, like typically I guess you don't go once you're done with high school, like generally those relationships kind of dissipate and
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
when I was in high school I had all my my core friends with me. We've lasted as long as we have lasted since high school ended, so I was kind of comfortable. I think in my own head going into college, I think I was comfortable sort of keeping my main core friends from high school and just kind of going in and FDU's like it's no secret that's
Yeah.
at least the Metro campus is not much of a party school. Like you're not gonna go there to for the college life, so to speak. So
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
wanted to, I would have went to like Rutgers or like one of those party schools, I guess. So yeah, I was going to FDU and I kind of had the intention of like just going in studying, seeing what I could figure out, but I didn't have clubs in mind. I didn't have the Equinox in mind, the newspaper. I most certainly did not have a radio show at the time in mind, doing one at the school. It was something this me and John did, I think. I don't know if it was freshman year or sophomore year, but we went up. We didn't go together. It was us separately at the time, but I think one of us at one time both went up to the radio station table and we kind of signed up to do it. And he was like,
Oh yeah.
he sent that email like a week later, and he was like, yeah, so whoever signed up, like, let's give you like a tour of the station or something. And I never got back to it because I was like, we were supposed to like go for like a class thing, I guess. So I didn't really have in mind that I'd be doing a radio station show,
Little
and
did we know, you know.
I
Little
know,
did we know
right?
how
Like
big the
Yeah.
radio station would have
turned out to be
become.
the best thing I think I did in my entire high school experience,
Yeah, I
or
would say
high
so
school
too.
experience,
College.
college experience.
I'd say so too.
But yeah, it was, I don't know. I just went in, I kind of went into college and I was like, not that I was gonna be like, I'll shoo away everybody who tries to make friends with me, but I didn't really have that on the top of my list as something that I would remember from my college experience. And lo and behold, the
Yeah.
six of us, four of us here, two again straggling away. Hopefully we'll join the podcast at some point. But yeah, lo and behold, we're all still here after graduation, and honestly, I can say it's like the best. I think mentally to be able to get through. Listen, college is. I say it with anybody, any major, any school they go to. College is a difficult thing. There's a lot going on in your life, whether inside of school or outside. And I think it's a tough thing to get through if you don't, if you have kind of the mindset that I had going in, where like you're just gonna do, you're gonna get your education, and you're gonna get out of there. I think it's
Yeah.
important to make the kind of relationships that we've made. And I think it helped us get through the entire thing, because I know there were some classes where I was like, this is the one I'm dropping out of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had all my friends with me, and I was like, you know what, let's stick it out, see where we end up, and we ended up graduating. So
There's a lot of classes I would not have been able to get through without y'all. Like, I
most
mean,
Yeah.
most definitely, yeah.
photojournalism to
Yeah.
speak for. Not saying it was a bad class, but it was like a
I
class that
love
was
that class.
hmm
I love that.
Photojournalism, yeah.
Yeah, that
She
was
was
a
a
good
great
class.
professor. Mhm.
Yeah.
I liked her.
I don't know.
I
We had to watch like a video every week, and the majority of me watching the videos was asking Kayoneil, Melody, or Sheldon, "Hey, what was the video all
Yeah,
about?"
what was that about?
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It was a good class, though. I liked her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, great professor, great professor. But I think it's
She was
just kind of
awesome.
like, yeah, photojournalism. I think we were able to have a little bit of fun on the final project because that was when she opened it up. And
Yeah.
I mean, Melody, what was it? It was some festival,
Woodstock.
Woodstock. Yeah.
Woodstock. And then Sheldon did something about Marvel or something about the movie industry, right?
I think I did. Yeah, I did like cinematography and something. I don't know. It was something I cooked up.
You remember what you did, Cal?
Nope. I forgot, I forgot
remember
all
I-
about it.
I
I
think
did
you
something
did
around-
Asian representation, no?
I did Asian representation, which is something that I did like 10
John definitely
plus
did
years
Asian
ago.
rep.
Definitely
Yeah.
did that.
I was able to actually, I did a lot of
Mm.
projects and essays on Asian representation. Not gonna lie, because
Yeah.
I don't know, it always fit the bill. It always fit
Mhm.
because I don't know, it fit in the entertainment space, it fit in the marketing
Mhm.
space, if you will. So I was able to use that a lot in college.
Mhm.
It's something that means a lot to me as a person. When it comes to like having your friends in high school versus friends in college, I think my brothers always gave me the advice where it's like, not like have a negative mindset towards it, but like just know that like the people you meet later in life are generally the ones that you meet like in a really good time. And that's why you meet them. They kind of like prepared me essentially to like not talk to the people that I knew in high school. And obviously when I was in high school, I kind of felt a little bad about that. I was like, oh no, I like these guys, like
Yeah.
at that time, what I'm like 16, 17, 18 years old. I don't know like
Mhm.
what's in store for me. And I feel like honestly, a lot of the time, I would say it's definitely like the universe, or if you will, or whatever you like to believe in, because it was unexpected how like we all kind of came together because of our major and our classes. But like,
Yep.
honestly, I had honest attempts of like trying to make friends and build friendships after like losing friends in high school and like
Mhm.
obviously starting college in general and like starting fresh, if you will. And I joined clubs and like there were just like general things that like happened because like if I made a group of friends here, but you know what, they were a little older than me. I was a sophomore, they were seniors, blah blah blah. Maybe they didn't have the personality traits that exactly fit my build, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, some people are just like you think you know them at first, and then as you get to know them more, you realize maybe you're just not compatible, and maybe they're just
Uh-huh.
not. And that's something that just happens in adult life, and that's something to be prepared for.
Yeah,
And
for
if
sure.
that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys have any stories like that, but I don't know. I think as young adults, we kind of like we live like thinking a lot about the future, and then we don't realize that like the future is already going to happen for us, and some things are meant to happen that way, so we shouldn't think about it too hard. Just enjoy.
Yeah.
I believe that.
I say for me going into college, I guess because when the pandemic happened, um like I didn't have a huge group of friends in high school. So like me losing contact with people from high school was so easy. Like it was like 1, 2, 3 poof type of thing.
Mm.
So it wasn't really hard for me, nor was it very like a very sentimental, like emotional, sad type of thing for me.
Mhm.
I think for those who do value their friendships in high school, I think that's like a huge difference between me and them. I'm not saying I'm better for it, by the way.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, um, a lot of people have like a very sense of importance on whether or not who they keep from a long time type of friendship, especially from
Mhm.
when they were kids compared to like now, but like when I went into college, I think a huge goal of mine was definitely making friends. My sister, she had like a clear like college experience, and she always told me, she was like, oh yeah, like the friends that I've made, they were all from my major. And I was just like,
Mhm.
oh. And she was just like, yeah, so like befriend your major friends and like
Mhm.
the people from your major. And I only had a problem there, and that was like I didn't know anybody from my major. Like I
Uh,
rarely saw people. And I was just like, damn, like I guess I'm all alone in the little communications world that I have to go through. Um, but yeah, for me, I do think that I slowly like I did have like outside friends from this group. I guess I was a little bit of a social bird, but one thing I do and I'm still working on is I tend to ghost people a lot, and I tend to I don't speak well,
uh,
especially it's hanging out. Like I think this friend group really made normalized me to that, and that's something
Mhm.
that like I really am grateful for, because before I used to be so nervous and socially awkward that I was just like,
Mhm.
I can't do it. I can't do it. But
Yeah.
yeah, college really did open my eyes into like who I like, especially as people when it comes to friends, what I would want to keep as a friend, especially any type of characteristics,
Mhm.
any types of beliefs, morals that they have. I definitely think of my friend groups, I definitely want them to have the same thing as me, like believe the same things and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
but not in a bad way, but like in a way that makes me open-minded and makes me like feel like better about myself. And also in
Uh,
another sense, also have friends that make me feel comfortable, because I feel like that was something that I've never had and I've always wanted, and I finally got it and I was just so
Mhm.
Mhm.
happy about it. So yeah.
So in terms of like going to college with friends, I had a core 5 friends in high school, and
Mhm.
then that kind of like dwindled down to like 3. Um, 2 of them, which I didn't know until like I got to FDU, were both going to FDU. So it was kind of cool having like your high school friends at the same college you
Mhm.
went to. And the other one went to Montclair, but she still pretty much kept in contact. And for me, making friends for me is very hard because I'm a very like introverted, shy person. So
Mhm.
it was definitely like difficult for me. So for me, when I went to class, I usually just sit. I'm that person that sits in the front of the class. I never
Yeah.
normally sat in the back. And after class was finished, I kind of just went home. So having the club that we talked about, the newspaper
Mhm.
that like kind of brought us together, that was kind of different for me because I'm like, this is out of my comfort zone, but it
Yeah.
ultimately led us together, which I'm super grateful for.
So, I mean, when it comes to making friends as a young adult and things like that, be sure to
Mhm.
just like don't overthink it. Think about what you want. Think about what's
Uh-huh.
important to you in friendships and things like that. And essentially, maybe the friendships may come to you, or maybe you'll have to go out in friendships. It's a whole wide
Mhm.
world there. I think some tips we could give you. I mean, you could hear through our stories. You could do a bunch of things, especially if you're in college or high school. You could definitely do things like join a club, try to
Uh-huh.
find people with common interests, whether it's a friend that's like, oh, you like anime? I like anime too. And it could be something as simple as that, where you could land
Uh-huh.
a really solid friendship as a young adult. wraps up another Promly Changemakers podcast. Don't forget to follow us at Promly app and download the Promly app in the App Store. This has been the first episode of the AfterGrad Podcast. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Period.
Signing off.
Signing off. Until next time.